With the 8 foundational elements in EB of light, wind, rock, aqua, life, magic, fire, and steel, how will they be distributed across the foundational islands? This question has plagued me and maybe some others since EB was announced, and today I will be looking to hopefully solve that. So, we first have to ask ourselves, in order to answer this question, what do we currently know about how elements will appear on the foundational islands? Well, we know that each element is used exactly 4 times. Here's a message by Pyro, one of the main developers, to demonstrate that. We know that all doubles are seen at least once, and triples will not repeat, also according to Pyro. We know that Wallenchump, the wind and fire double elemental, will only appear once. Here's the message by Pyro to back that up. We know that Triseptic, the rock and magic double elemental, only appears twice, as seen by this message. We know that Lamphite, the light and fire double, will appear 3 times and is the only double to do so. And here's some messages by Pyro and Interdimensional, both developers, that back that statement up. And we know that there are 8 foundational islands, 1 for each element. Now, this is, a pretty well-known thing in the EB community, but I couldn't find a better message to back it up than this, but this, it implies that. So, these are the conditions that we will be working with as we try to figure out how the elements will be distributed, and keep these in mind because each one is going to be very important at some point. So, first of all, since we know that there are 8 foundational islands and that each one will have 4 elements, we can make this table with 8 islands, 4 spaces, 4 elements. And we can go ahead and fill in the elements of Galactic Paradise and Traveling Workshop, since these islands already have their elements revealed to us. And then, from there, we can start speculating what these remaining 6 could look like. So first, we can add fire to these 3, because, fire, it's got to appear on 4, so it appears on Traveling Workshop, and it's got to appear on 3 more. Now we also know that Lamphite, because Lamphite, the fire and light double elemental, appears 3 times, that means it appears on Traveling Workshop. Oh, sorry, that's not coming into play yet. So Wallenchump, the light and wind double, only appears once. And so its only appearance is Traveling Workshop, which means that wind, which has 2 more appearances outside of Workshop and Paradise, wind will not appear on the same islands as fire. Now here's what I was talking about, where Lamphite has to appear 3 times, so Light's other 2 appearances outside of Galactic Paradise and Traveling the Workshop, they both have to be on islands with the fire element, so we know that these will go together. And next, I believe, yes, I add steel. And the way I knew that steel appeared on these 3 islands is because of these islands, steel cannot appear on these 2, because then light, fire, and steel would all be on the same island, and that would repeat a triple with Traveling the Workshop. So steel couldn't be there, and so steel had to be on 3 of these 4 islands. And we know that it can't be on both islands with the wind element, because then steel and wind would appear 3 times on these 2 islands and Traveling the Workshop, and Lamphite is the only double to appear 3 times. So that's how we can tell that steel will appear on these 3 islands. Now next we know that on these islands with the fire and light elements, the other options for what can appear, since, steel and wind, we've already found all their elements and they couldn't appear here anyways, or they'd cause a repeating triple. Since we know that those can't be here, all of these squares have the options of rock, aqua, magic, and life elements. Now, when you think about it, that's a possibility for all 4 of these squares, but whatever element is in one of these squares can't appear in the other 3. For example, an element appears here, it can't appear here because then the same element would appear on an island twice, which just can't happen. And it can't appear on here because then light, fire, and that element would form a repeating triple. So we know that all 4 of these squares have to be these 4 elements. Now, we can go ahead and just put rock here, because rock will appear at one of these points, and so it doesn't really matter where you put it. Rock is going to appear with light and fire on an island, so we can just put it there. And we know that psychic will appear on the other island with light and fire, because it cannot appear here with rock again, because then that would form a repeating triple of light, rock, and magic if it were to appear here. So we know that it's got to be here, leaving these 2 squares to be split between life and aqua. So one's life, the other's aqua. We'll figure that out later. We have this for now, and so we are going to move over here to island 6. Yeah, okay. So life appears once across these 2 islands, and because life needs to appear on 4 foundational islands, it needs to appear on 3 of these 4 islands. Which means that on one of these islands, life will not appear. And if we take a look at island 6, and let's say that this is the island where life doesn't appear, well, if in that case, life would appear on these 3 islands, and the duo of life and steel would repeat 3 times, which we know is not possible, because Lamphite is the only double to appear more than twice. So, that means that this island consequently has to have life and aqua by that same logic, because it appears once here, and it needs to appear 3 more times across these islands, and same logic, aqua steel would repeat too many times if aqua isn't an element here. Now next, well, that leaves this option to be between magic and rock. And so, yes, next up we know that this duo of life and aqua has to repeat once more as a double, because aqua and life between this island, and this island, aqua and life have to appear 2 more times, which leaves an overlap of 1. So they have to overlap again, and so life aqua has to repeat. Now, do you remember another double that has to repeat? Triseptic. I can never forget that Triseptic appears twice, because Triseptic is my favorite EB monster. And so Triseptic is also looking to repeat on one of these remaining islands. And so, if you look at Island 5, you'll notice that neither of these doubles can repeat there, because it'll form a repeating triple. Because if life and aqua appear here, then the triple elemental of wind, life, and aqua will appear on both this island and this island, and the same goes for if rock and magic were to appear here, then it would be wind, rock, and magic on more than one island. So that means that one of these is on island 4, and the other is on island 7. Now, we don't know which is which yet, so we can't put them down. But we know that because neither can appear here, one of these squares is going to be magic or rock, and the other is going to be life or aqua. Now, we actually can tell which duo goes where, because if you look here, this is life or aqua, meaning that only one of these elements is appearing here. And so, you can see for life and aqua, they each appear once among these 2 islands. They appear once on this island, and one appears on this island, but the other doesn't. So the other has to appear 2 more times outside of these 2 occurrences, and so it has to be, oh yes, so it appears on these islands, and so it has to appear on both this island and this island, either life or aqua. And so, if Triseptic were to occur here, it wouldn't leave room for that. So we know that Triseptic cannot be on this island, and therefore that has to be on this island. And then, by that logic, the life and aqua double would have to appear on island 4 here. And yeah, these islands, not in any particular order, probably not the foundational island element order. I don't even think that would I don't know if all of them would work in the end anyways. These don't matter, these are just unknown islands. But yeah, and so that leaves this to be either life or aqua. So if you take out all these unknown squares, you will get this, and also if you rearrange to account for order of the elements, you will get this as confirmed. So these are all confirmed element combinations across the foundational islands. And what's really interesting is that aqua, life, fire, and steel, this is a confirmed cast of foundational elements, which I think is really cool that we already have an island confirmed based on these few conditions. Now, that's not it though, because if you go back to here, at first glance, this may look like a lot of variability in the possibilities of the foundation island casts, but when you really look at it, some of the choices affect others, and so there's really only two decisions that you're making between magic and rock here, and life and aqua here. And so, let's say that this is magic, well, that would leave this to be rock. And so then you make this decision. Let's say you say that this one is life, which would make this one aqua. Now from here, life and rock appears both here and here, meaning that it cannot appear again on Island 7, which means that this would have to be aqua, and this would have to be life. And so this is one possibility of the casts. Here it is rearranged, accounting for element orders. And so that's one possibility. Now, if you go back and say, this is aqua, and this is life, well, then you'll get life here and aqua here. And so this is possibility 2. Now, let's say you go back to this decision, and instead of magic, you say it's rock, which would leave this to be magic. Then you do the same thing again, where this is life, this is aqua, by the same logic as earlier. This is life, and this is aqua. And so this is possibility 3. And if you go here and instead you say it's aqua and this is life, then this is aqua and this is life. And so this is possibility 4 of the casts. And I just think it's really cool because now we know that there were only really 4 possibilities for the casts of elements on these foundational islands just from these few conditions. And so to recap, yes, these conditions, there are really only 6. I mean, I know that there's the 7th one, but it's not super relevant. It's just to say that there are 8 foundational islands. But yeah, so with these few conditions, we can know that these are confirmed casts of foundational elements across the islands, and these are all possibilities. So you can go ahead and screenshot this if you want. Screenshot these 4 possibilities if you'd like. But I just think it's really interesting that we can already know that these are the possible casts. So, thanks for watching. Don't click off just yet, please. Just stay for a few seconds longer while I say thanks for watching. This is, one of my first videos, so if you'd like to support me, if you'd like to see more Elemental Beginnings content like this, then please consider liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, maybe sharing this with others, commenting, just anything really, any support at all will really help me. Very small channel at this point. So if you'd want to help that grow, and you'd want to help me be able to make more content about Elemental Beginnings in the future, then I'd really love your support. But with that, thanks for watching, and see y'all later.